What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 323 of Opinions May Vary. I am your host, JR, and my co-host with me, Alex.
Hello.
Joining us this week over the Skype machines, all the way like 10 miles away from us, is is Matt Ryan of Free Lunch Studios. Matt, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, everybody.
We have had the pleasure of, and by we, it's always, Alex with me standing awkwardly in the background because I'm too shy in person, of chatting with Matt a lot at many different events. Like, we're talking comic shows, free comic book day at like comic shops, roller derby shows.
Can I run it down?
Run it down.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the past, I've seen his setup. I've seen Matt at places.
For years.
Talking to people, doing cool stuff, doing drawings, pitching his comic books. My niece has met him. I think we bought one of your books at the East of the River show. Because I've seen you at East of the River for a couple of years. And I was like, well, that's neat. He's doing some cool stuff, and that's okay. And then, like, I'd move on. But then I'd see you doing free comic day at Matt's comic shop in town, and then we'd see you doing a roller derby show, and then I'd see you at CT Horror Fest, still with your big setup, pitching all your stuff, and you're at Camp Anime, and you're doing stuff there, and like hosting a fun like little art fight between attendees. And I'm like, oh my God, this man hustles like I haven't seen before.
I need to take a nap after hearing that.
I'm like, and just we're a couple of dudes like, we'll show up to a con, but then we could just leave whenever we want to. And then, I mean, for a couple of years, we would get a table at Boston to do, hey, listen to our podcast and not really sell anything, but we'd share a table with our friend Brett, and he does art, and he's amazing.
He'd make money.
Yeah.
Essentially, we were there to be like, yeah, we do a podcast, but this guy is talented. You should look at him.
And like we did that, once a year, and we'd like spend 2 months getting ready for it and have to like calm down for a month afterwards.
And then spend weeks like, oh man, that was exhausting. Can you believe how hard we just worked? A lot of patting ourselves on the back for one weekend of doing nothing. But
then seeing what you do, and it's like I have no idea how.
Yep.
And that's only what I have seen you at, and there's still like levels of things that you do besides that, which just I get more and more impressed, and I feel Connecticut's lucky to have you.
Well, oh wow, thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate that, and I consider myself an ambassador for the medium.
Mm-hmm.
So part of my job, not only am I creating the stuff, but I also want to bring new readers in. I also want to educate readers, and I also want to help them network and help them meet each other and give opportunities. Like I really and truly believe that I'm an ambassador, and I take it very, very seriously. And then as far as the, it's exhausting to think about like all those venues.
Yeah.
What happens is you do it long enough, it's almost like you're on a wave and you're just preparing to catch the next wave.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten very good at understanding where the next show is and what show it's going to be and how to be prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of that edge off.
How long?
Because otherwise, I remember the big freak out beforehand. I totally do.
How long have you? Because we've been seeing you, for a couple of years now. If you want to kind of give us like a background, like how long have you been doing this? What's your quick summary, like your story of how you got into this?
Well, it's funny. This is the 20th anniversary of Free Lunch Comics.
We nailed it. Right. We it's because we knew that. We're like, yo, it's his
we need to
20th
get this.
anniversary. Yep. Pat ourselves on the back a little
April
bit.
Fool's Day, 1998. Free Lunch Comics made its debut nationally and internationally with Bigger, and when that came out, like we had a little studio similar in kind to what I have here in Terriffill, but it wasn't as streamlined. It wasn't. I couldn't keep it going while publishing massive quantities of books. So I had to close it down. But we were met with some success with Bigger. Obviously, my reputation is still intact because of the success of Bigger, which is kind of jarring.
If I could interject really briefly, a guy I used to work with said that his store hosted the release for Bigger. His name was Mark. I can't always pronounce his last name, but it sounds like Dirk. There's a couple D's and J's in there.
Was he in Canton or Simsbury?
I think Simsbury sounds about right.
Yeah, okay. Then that makes sense.
That
makes sense.
He would tell me that he would sell tons of the McFarlane sports figures.
Yeah.
At whatever shop you had. And I was like, what? Really? People buy anyway. You would like have to get sets and sets of the hockey guys. And so like, that was like the first time I heard about Bigger.
He was like our home store. So kind of the equivalent of Cliff's Con in Plainville, which is tomorrow. That's kind of like our home show.
Okay.
But yeah, we hustled. Like when we were preparing for our release, there was we would go around all over the area just to create a little bit of buzz, and we would sell our mini comics or give them away. And the first issue of Bigger was actually a collection of the first 7 minis that Greg Holcomb and I came up with, and then we had Steve Custer on inks, and excuse me, we went all over the place because we were comic fans too, which is not rare.
Yeah.
And Diamond knew who we were long before the book even came out, and we didn't know that. And when we did the pitch to Diamond and we got accepted, we made thousands upon thousands of mini comics and sent them nationwide to every indie-friendly store, with every awareness that the retailer might put them out on the rack to give away to customers as an ad that they could read, or with the employees stealing them. We didn't care. Because if the employees stole them, that means they were going to tell their friends, and they were going to order the books anyway. And it was funny. Like, we didn't know if we got accepted, and we would fight over calling Diamond. It's like, we should call. No, let it simmer. You know?
Yeah.
The fear was real, and we did ultimately call, and they were so like, oh yeah, you guys totally made it in. Why? And okay. And then with the success of the first issue, they called us back and they were like, are you going to do more? And I thought that was pretty awesome. You know, the roles have changed a lot with different people that have been part of the free lunch experience over the years. And even the products changed a lot too. So I came up with printable terrain for gamers right after Bigger. So I was working on Bigger, and I was working on these 3D structures that you could assemble out of paper and use in your tabletop gaming experience years ago. Just because, you know, people would come up to our booth with the Bigger stuff, and they would either love us or they would really hate us. So I wanted to come up with something that would enhance our marketability and kind of redefine our experience in those spaces that took advantage of, or that would take advantage of the skills that I had. So that was fun. And then everybody in the world started doing it, and I was like, okay, so we're gonna bow out. And then I kind of disappeared for a while, getting a full-time, respectful job where I sold my soul.
I'm sorry.
I know. I basically learned that I would do anything for money.
Isn't it funny how that works?
And you know what? It's all good. Because in secret, I was working on bigger anyway, and nobody knew. Everybody thought I was studying, and I was sketching pages in these books. Granted, it wasn't the whole time, but I was still churning them. Mm-hmm. And then I got really tired of that. And then I came back full on, and I joined the Comic Artists Guild, and I became the president of the Granby Artists Association. And like, I really, I wanted to know first, like, how the industry changed, and I wanted to know what artists did and how they could learn from each other. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those experiences were great. What would happen was with those organizations, you build up great bonds, you get recognition, and different people were kind of screaming in your benefit. Like the Comic Artists Guild, I have great friends in there still to this day, like Keith Murphy and Hector Rodriguez and James Rodriguez. I love those guys. And then over at the Granby Artists, I learned so much, and it was funny. Like I wasn't sure I wanted to be the president of the Granby Artists Association.
Yeah.
But then I talked to Steve Canaris, a longtime writing partner of mine. He and I still collaborate to this day. And he was like, this is going to be really good for you, Matt. He's like, it's going to clean you up. And you're going to represent these people. You're going to do what they need. You're not going to make any decisions. You're going to act on what they want. And it was a great learning experience. And what was awesome is it put me in touch with even bigger organizations, no pun intended. And and it kind of really honed my target and honed my skill to where I am today. So, while I was there, I partnered up with Judy Weinstein, who was with the Greater Hartford Arts Council, and this was fantastic because here I am. I cut all my hair off and dressed up nice, and I would have these gorgeous artists come with me, and they would make jokes. They were like, "Oh, here comes Charlie and his angels and stuff," and it was so great because I was walking around with just like ridiculous. I am in awe of great talent, and I will always respect it. And to be representing those artists physically in that space in a huge gathering where it is purely for the arts, like it just awe-inspiring, very, very cool. And that put me on track and had me coming up with the concept for comic construction, where I go around to different schools and businesses and libraries and talk about how comics are made. And it's just very, very cool. I have a very fun job, and it's morphed to some degree. I still produce. I've got Beyond the Kuiper Belt coming out this month. I am going to do another bigger book. Oh God, this year. The secret thing is, I'm going to say this on your show. It's like the dumbest secret ever. The book has been done for years. The book's been done for like 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
I just never put it out.
Right.
I like Food Fight is my big seller now. And those are like my Looney Tunes or my Muppets. I just do terrible things to them, and they just come back for more.
Take notes.
They're very fun. They're very fun to do, and kids love it. When kids see the logo, they're compelled to yell it out, which is like a sonar beacon to other children to come by. It's and it's fun. It's pure. Like, I've created a couple characters with my kids. So it's real. It's good. It's very, very good.
I think one of those is what I might have picked up for my niece.
How old is your niece?
Let's see. At the time, she would have been about 12.
Yeah, probably.
She's 13 now. And I think it was at East of the River. And like, she was kind of looking at stuff, and she was looking at one of the books, and I don't remember if it was that one or something else. And there was like a joke involved, because you're like, oh, there's going to be a little person who's wearing green who might look like a leprechaun, but we can't call him a leprechaun.
Yeah, he's not.
And Megan really got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
And enough so, like, the next time, because she's been on 2 episodes, and like we we referenced that on an episode, and like Megan like pipes up because usually she's kind of quiet, but she's not afraid to like tell me when to correct me, and she's like, yeah, I had the not leprechaun.
See, kids, it speaks to children. It
Yeah.
speaks to children. And he's a stickler for manners, and he exhibits none. He is a purity that children understand, which I am very proud of.
Can we jump backwards to dealing with Diamond for a second? Because a thing that I had no idea how it worked a long time ago until I saw a friend try to deal with it was that like you don't just decide you're going to self-publish and tell Diamond to carry your stuff. Like you have to pitch it to them because they have to invest in carrying it and distributing it, and like it's work for them, and they have to decide whether or not you're worth it, which never occurred to me.
Yeah.
So is that how like you guys were? Because like, and I imagine nowadays it might be, I don't know, different, I guess, harder yet easier, just because communication is different than it was 20 years ago, and
But also, everyone and their mother's trying to publish their own book.
yeah.
Right. When we were, maybe it's the conditions of the job, but we knew we were submitting, and we knew it wasn't a guarantee. We also knew that if you bought ad space, that would hedge the bets a little bit. Like they're in a business, they just want to make money too.
Yeah.
So I get that. I wasn't crazy about, I still not crazy about how the book is created and distributed. So I don't really like how the quote unquote mainstream books are in the front. And then the independents are in the back. So there's a lot of retailers that don't even investigate the back part.
Yeah.
And I get that too. They're dealing with landscape. They can't afford to buy everything. But in a lot of other catalogs, things are categorized by horror or mythology or comedy. And that allows you to, I don't know, kind of understand where you're looking and what you're trying to find.
And also decide like what your genre is going to be and where you're going to market yourself.
Yeah, and you, as a creator, you should probably know that.
There's times where we don't know what we are. We've had someone ask us, "Oh, so what's your audience?" And we're like, "I don't know, everyone."
Anyone who will listen.
And ideally, that's what you want.
Yeah.
But it needs to be like, who is your customer? Who are you thinking about? Who are you delivering to? And anything above and beyond that is nice. That's the frosting on the cake. So you should definitely have a customer in mind, and even with the writing class that we have that runs here, like I think about that content while they're teaching the class. And I'm like, all right, so if I'm coming up with something, who's my customer? How do I want to attach this thing I've created to that customer? And maybe I don't know if that comes from my visual arts training in school, where everything is so, with fine art, everything is so like genre categorized. You're either a landscape artist, you're a portrait artist, and that's who you sell to, and it's such a different existence. I'll have interns come through here that are going to college, and they're in sometimes with these fine artists, and they're getting beat up because at its core, you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
And they're creating something that's going to be sitting on somebody's wall. So I think that when it came for solicitation of Diamond, we knew with Bigger. See, I came up with Bigger when I was in college, but I didn't do anything with it because school was my job, and I wanted to do well with school and then get out and then do it.
Yeah.
And so I had these little sketchbooks that I would carry everywhere and just fill them. I knew that I wanted to pick on the comic industry as a whole. I wanted to pick on Archie fans, and I wanted to pick on Hulk fans. And that told me that I was targeting an older audience. See, and I wasn't watching TV at the time, and I didn't know how sitcoms were being written, but in a way I was kind of trying to come up with sitcom plots that were based on a guy, whenever he was aroused, his body would double the size. So I really wanted to really shine the mirror on the comic fan who was being inundated by, you know, misproportioned women, and weird story concepts and themes when it came to women. Like Bigger right now would probably destroy on the shelves just because there's a girl with blue hair and she's got the Skrillex haircut. You know, the awareness of the guy in his time. So, you know, we're seeing a little uptick in Bigger sales again. Maybe I should resolicit to Diamond. I was way ahead of my time. I really, and what was funny was I was not, like, I would go to the movies, I would fall asleep. I didn't watch TV. It was almost like pop culture kind of stopped for me. And I was trying to, and then when you come up with an idea, you tend to stay away from other sources that might be close to it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want your perspective to be corrupted by it. You know, so it was very, very interesting. So yeah, I had a customer in mind, and when we pitched it to Diamond, we had a pretty strong awareness of what we were. And I remember Mark Hare, he and I are still Facebook friends. He was my main contact, and we would see him all over the country before the book even had gone out through him. Because remember, we were fans, and I was shopping my portfolio around, getting my ass kicked left and right all over the place. Like, I had a look that didn't really fit. So it was interesting, but it was great because he was engaging, and he was encouraging, and he was easy to talk to. So yeah, he was like our distribution contact. It was pretty awesome.
That's good to find. So I feel sometimes it's rare.
I think I felt the same way.
It's like
I didn't
have like getting that, like, a good constructive criticism, but yet like their intent isn't to destroy you completely. Is nice.
See, that's harsh.
Where I think I've told it a few times in the past. Years ago I volunteered for Wizard World Philly, and I was like line cutoff guy. And one of the lines I was working was for portfolio reviews, when Wizard actually had, like, they could actually get editors to come, you know, look at portfolios. And I think there was a Schultz or a Schwartz. I think there was a Schultz guy. I forget his first name. Kevin, maybe.
Mark?
No, but he was a really nice guy, and everyone like wanted to get their review from him. And then at one point he leaves, it's his time out. Now the different guy tags in, another guy sits down, and I see people like step out of line and leave because it was Axel Alonso. He's a big time editor for Marvel now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And like his reviews were just so harsh.
Oh,
like,
really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. People would leave and like want to throw the portfolio in the trash. Oh yeah, it was like kind of heartbreaking to watch. At the time, I didn't really understand what was happening, so I was amused by it. But like looking back on it, I was like, oh my god.
And it's tough,
you know,
like, because
I've gone through that.
Yeah.
Right. And like
it is hard.
Is it do you want to be, and again, I have no talent as an artist whatsoever, so I guess I'd have to base it on, like, you know, the podcast. Like, if we presented our podcast to someone, would I rather have someone fluff it up and be like, yeah, you know, I see where you guys are going with it. You know, it's, you guys got potential. Or would I rather have, you know, someone give me the business and be honest about it?
Yeah.
But it's like,
well, here's the thing. Like, these guys don't go to school for portfolio review.
right.
You know, and I think that tact is very important. Like, when I'll have people come in here and they'll ask my opinion, and I'll give it, and I'll find the positives, and I'll find the things that I'm not crazy about. And if they're going to ask me in that light, it's an honor, and I will tell them, you want me to tell you the truth. And this is not a slight against you, and I understand it. I've been beat up by it myself, but you're putting your arm in front of somebody and they're cutting it up, and it's hard to not make that mental connection. But if you're going to put yourself in front of those eyes, then you should be prepared. Get me at your best. If I'm going to get beat up, like if you're going to go in a boxing match, right?
Yeah.
You want that person to be at their best. You don't want them sick.
Oh yeah.
Because then it doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to kick my ass, because I want to leave that experience, as hard as it may be, I want to leave that experience better. I want to leave that experience better. And some people can take that really tight criticism. And you're talking to a guy who went to New York and pitched his stuff to Marvel and came back with his tail between his legs. Like, I was not the flavor of the business. Like, and I understood that afterward. And I went through a rough period, but if you're going to put yourself in front of them, you should graciously take what they give you. Now, are there some people that mishandle that responsibility? Yeah, there are. But like I said, there is no school for portfolio review. And then a lot of people don't understand. Like, if they say no, well, then they mean it. And if you don't want to be a pain in the ass to them, because then you're going to make. They don't owe you an explanation.
Yeah.
They don't owe you anything. And when you're in that environment, like, art is it's all by the eye of the beholder. For some people it'll make sense, for some people it won't. You said you're a wrestling fan. Like, there are some people that see Shinsuke Nakamura and they're like, I don't get this. But there are some people that watch him and they are like, yes, so yes. And it's different can be good. And some people can recognize it and some people can't. So it's a very interesting concept. But at the same time, like, if you went to a podcast review and they were talking about, the story that you're trying to weave and the certain amount of time that you have, are you doing what needs to be done? Are you closing it off and giving your listener what they need? Like, if you didn't leave that experience with something that can enhance your delivery, something that can enhance the package that you're trying to create, well, then you wasted your time. And maybe they shouldn't be in that space. It's almost like if you went to a rival. I don't know how this works. I know, I have a podcast of my own, but it's just pure news. There's no opinion stuff or anything like that. But if you went to a rival and they just basically put you against the ropes the whole time, well then, what are you doing? I think with some artists, I would imagine that sometimes they see you as competition. I don't know. I'm such a maybe I'm an odd duck. I don't know. But I believe the more interest, the more love for the business, the more people that are doing it, the better off we all are. And it's not because of the movies. So we don't want to think because of the movies. Like,
right.
It's a purity. It's a respected medium in its own right now. It's not a gateway drug to a big screen. We've got kids that go to school that read Bone and Amulet and Smile like it's going out of style. And those are books that most readers don't even know about.
Yeah.
But you go to sorry, go ahead.
I had listened to a really old Nerdist podcast episode, and Hardwick was talking to Donald Glover, and he was saying how Donald Glover was trying to get into stand-up, and they were talking about how whenever Jerry Seinfeld would meet like young people trying to do stand-up, he would tell them not to do it. You're not good enough. Don't do it. And the concept was, if you can fight past that and be like, well, I don't care what Jerry Seinfeld said to me. Like, if I could still work through it, then right. You probably have what it takes to keep going.
Yeah, sure.
And like, it's a real.
Did Jerry admit to that?
They were just talking about what they had experienced. Like, I haven't I don't recall if Jerry's like, yeah, that's exactly
Maybe
why
he
I do it.
legitimately meant it. You
But
were not good.
I do feel like
that's
that's
some that's some deep stuff. Like that's
Oh,
the,
yeah.
that's the Neil Adams card, right? Like he'll tell everybody, "Oh, you suck." Well, okay. Like that's, I don't know. Does that help? Does that help anybody?
It seems, especially nowadays, it seems like almost like a trope. Like everyone, like, oh, this guy told me this one thing, but maybe there's a hidden meaning behind it. Like
Exactly.
he must have meant the
I
other.
have to prove him wrong now.
Yeah, no, it's just like the movies.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That's, I've been hearing that for years, and I don't know. I look at what I've been able to create, and I consider myself very fortunate to be able to do what I do every day. And I did have those terrible portfolio reviews. Yeah, get out of the business, kid. You're no good. Whatever.
Let's talk about what you do.
If you want it bad enough, I'm never going to go up and shake that person's hand and say thanks for the, the reverse psychology.
Yeah.
Like really?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe that. Oh,
Right.
I'm weeding out the weak. Okay. Okay, Lionel. Whatever you need.
You just mentioned, doing what you do. Can we go over some more of that? Just because, I
Okay.
mean, we've said you're a busy guy, and you've mentioned comic construction, and you mentioned freelance studios. Like what, and let's see, what else? I have your store up. You could buy like packages, like workshops or classes to learn how to do stuff with comic books. Like what? So what might your week look like? I mean.
All right. So this was a good week. So Monday, I started the day off working on like freelance stuff. And then the day shifted to a private lesson that I hosted here. And then I did the kids jam at 5, which we do every week. And that's where kids come into the office and they draw with me for an hour. It's theme driven. It's very fun. An hour is long enough, because it gets kooky.
Mm-hmm.
But the kids love it. By the end of that, I'm ready to die. But then I don't. I actually run the adult jam, which I've been running for almost 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where creatives, writers, illustrators, painters, poets, they come into the office from 6 to 8:30 and they work on their own stuff. I don't give them an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I give them an opportunity to share their work. I give them an opportunity to get feedback. If I can help them, I will do it. And it's cool because it's like its own unique family with these different disciplines. So then I go from dead tired to pretty jazzed up. And so by the time I leave that, I'm ready to die because it's like it's a 12-hour day, 13-hour day.
I want to say I dig like the regularity of that, because people that want to make and want to create somehow, it's always said that like you just have to do it. You have to keep doing it. And since like you have this regular schedule, set up, it facilitates that.
It does. It helps. Yes.
Yeah. Go on.
So Tuesday, I drove down to Stratford. I left pretty early to do a comic construction performance at 9 o'clock for the entire 5th and 6th grade of the middle school. Or no, the elementary school, sorry. And then I did 3 workshops afterward, honing in on the craft that we talked about during the performance.
Uh-huh.
And that's a lot of fun. I even had lunch with the kids too. The teachers, their eyebrows always go up. They're like, "You really want to eat with the kids?" Yes, I do. And then,
you know what?
after
Some of the best ideas come from kids.
Oh, you can't think. It's too loud. It is way too loud. It's absolute chaos. I can't hear a damn thing when I'm in there. It's and it's always the same. And the teachers are also apologetic. And I'm like, it's the same everywhere. I wouldn't worry about it. It's not like I got hit with an overripe tomato or anything. So then after that, I went to another school and did a comic construction performance there after hours for like an interest group, and then we did a workshop, like a little story building workshop, and then I drove my dead ass home. I think I was home by like 10:30.
Wow.
Damn.
And then Wednesday, I think Wednesday I slept in a little bit, which was nice, like 8 o'clock, you know. And then I went to work and I worked on freelance stuff. Thursday I met with I've got a social media art agent now. So I met with him and we talked about agenda stuff. And then we had, usually I have my private lesson Thursday nights, and then I have Thirsty Thursdays. It's like drink and draw, or drink and game, drink and D&D, or drink and write. But because there's 5 Thursdays this month, I got one off, which was pretty awesome. So I got to go and bring my daughter to her basketball scrimmage, which was very fun. And then yesterday, I worked on freelance stuff, and then I taught my drawing and painting for teens class. Today will be freelance. I've got another job. I met with a writer on Thursday too, a book author, and I'm doing spot art for him. So as soon as I'm done with this Conan Cull thing, then I'm going to start his piece. I hope to finish that today. And then tomorrow is Plainville. We're doing the CliffsCon at the Plainville VFW. And the roller derby team, who I'm the cartoonist for, they're going to invade, which is going to be awesome. In their full gear, on wheels and everything. So they're going to be at my booth and all over the show. I'm super excited for that. You guys are the first to really know about it. The advertising says 2 people. That is a lie. There's going to be a lot more than 2. From what I understand. And then after that, I have my customer appreciation event, which happens once a month. We play Ultimate Frisbee at the local high school here every month with my my loyal customers. And it's great because then they get to see me in a different light. And I don't have to be like, Johnny, do this, do that. I can actually have fun with them and they can see me in a different light. So just to give you a little background, like I have fun doing my job, but at the same time, if you're going to go to war with me and be my like a soldier in arms next to me, I want you to take it pretty friggin' serious. Like I want you to play hard and I want you to create hard. And I believe in that. I really do believe in that. So that's this week.
That was 1 week in addition to your own personal life, family time, sleeping somewhere in there eventually, maybe some sleep, and then also like we still manage to see you at all of these shows and events and things like that. Like that's like it was after free comic book day this year, a couple weeks ago, when it was like we were discussing, like, you and Alex had talked about trying to meet up on the show and all that, and like I think, did we go and record directly after Free Comic Book Day?
I think we did.
I think we did, yeah. And like we were talking like just about how it's like you're the definition of grind. Like you wake up and you work and then you go to sleep and then you wake up and you work again. Like
if the comic shop event went until 5, Matt was like, "I'm sorry, I have to bow out about like 3, I think it was." And he's like, "Because I'm going to do the roller derby show."
Right.
Like he's like, I have pretty much enough time to travel there and set up for the bout to start.
It wasn't because I'm going to leave at 3 because I want to go home.
Yeah.
It's no, I have another thing to go do.
Well, here's where I love what I do. And like roller derby, I can bring my daughter to that.
Yeah,
actually, if she's around, I have no choice. She's told me I'm going to all of these. Both of my kids are very much involved in sports and extracurricular activities, so they're very busy too. But I get to bring them to work when I want to. Like tonight, we'll all be going to Mohegan Sun, and we're going to have fun. We're going to go to a basketball game. So and I got screwed out of a day off. Tuesdays are usually my weekend. And I get, I squeeze as much in Tuesday as possible. So I'm ready to die by Wednesday morning. But this week I had that lecture, and I'm not going to say no. Mm-hmm. We're coming up on caricature season really quick, and there are going to be some days where I will be burning the candle on both ends. And it's funny when you get these kids in the office and they're like, "I'm tired." You have no clue. Like, here I am. That's the other reason I like the customer appreciation days. I love just like beating the shit out of. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just swore on your show.
It's
Cursing,
okay.
that's cool, man. Don't worry about it.
Where's the quarter bin? I've got a quarter right here. I know I have a quarter. I'll drop it in the jar. Here it is. There it goes.
Yep, there it is.
I love like outrunning those kids. Like, my stamina has been groomed over the last couple years. Like and it's funny. You get the adults in here and they're like, they have no idea. No, it's true.
They merely embraced the tired.
Child, I haven't eaten in 15 hours.
I was born into the tired.
Yeah. I'm making out with a coffee right now.
Sleep is just long blinks for me.
But like I feel like I've groomed myself to have the stamina that I do. And I have a great family that is super supportive, and I will do anything I can for them. My motivations are pure. They're you really don't have to look far. You don't have to look far to see what makes me tick. I'm
on the Facebook page at the moment, and like we said earlier, like we talked a lot of Conan before, and and being an artist, like, you have to recognize a lot of stuff so you can recall on it, and and you may have to use it in art somehow. And what I have up right now is you have like an example of one of the cards for the roller derby girls, the Hartford Whalers universe, and I'm looking at that and I go, he actually used the universe logo.
Yeah, I totally stole that.
You know what? I see that, like, I don't see it as like art theft. It's an homage thing, because like what.
Totally.
The reason for it, what it's explaining, what it's doing, I get it, and I'm a fan of it, because I'm the one idiot that will still collect the Marvel Universe, issues when I find them. Like, no one actually wants those things, but it's and it's like, in case you haven't seen one, Jer, you probably have, but like, I have a box of them, and they're just they're encyclopedia issues.
Okay,
they're
so
fantastic.
It's this one's like A through D, and it's like, here's 2 pages on Daredevil, and there's like, his power projection might be on there.
Right. And
then it'll end with Demolition Man, and you get like all the characters in between alphabetically. And then sometimes there's one that's just an objects issue, where it's like the gauntlet's in there, a Cyclops' visor is in there, the baton's in there, claws are in there. And then there's one that's like all death issue, and it's like everyone who's died in Marvel.
Huh.
And
you want to have a good cry, you read that one.
There was like 4 pages dedicated to Captain Marvel alone. And that's what that's what you homage and called back to with these cards. And I'm like, yes, I get it and I dig it.
Well, when I pitched, so it's a funny story. So I went to the first game of the season, and I didn't really know what the gimmick was going to be this year. And I was thinking about just putting them all in like Game of Thrones gear and making them look like badass warrior women. Mm-hmm. Hey, and as a Conan guy, like, that sounds pretty friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
Then we got to talking, and they said, "Oh yeah, our next game is on Free Comic Day," and I'm like, "What?" It is, and they're like, "Yeah." Well, they didn't say Free Comic Day; they said Cinco de Mayo, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's Free Comic Day!" What a dork I am, right? So then I'm like, I know what I'm going to do, and I pitched it to them. I'm like, "Forget the Game of Thrones thing." Mm-hmm. Let's do Marvel Universe entry style cards with your bios, an autograph area, your full body. I got gang tackled by half the team at that moment. And I was there that night with the writer I'm working on a vampire project with, and she's like, "Yeah, you disappeared into a pile of blue and green. I lost you there for a minute." And I'm like, "Yeah, that was the best response I've ever gotten from them as far as a concept." So I think we're on the right page. So, and the cards look fantastic. They're funny. Some of them are really, really good. Muhammad Alicha hers is just, it gets you right in the heart. It's just so good. And then some of them, they give you total free reign with them. So those are fun too. I don't know. It's a great experience. Chris Fizakis has been writing a bunch of them. We're having a good time with them. Having a good time with them.
I mentioned,
and they love them too. They're going to the show tomorrow. I can't.
Good.
I can't wrap my head around it.
I mentioned on our free comic day episode when I bought a couple of pages off of you, because a thing that you had set up that I hadn't seen before was you had done some drawings on pages like taken right out of novels.
You got the second one I did, and then you bought, what was the other one?
I bought 2 Conan ones. It was from the same story. I remember one that you bought. There was one that got me right in the heart when you got it. And I was like, oh, I remember. Oh, I do remember. It was the King. You got the King. Yes.
Oh.
Well, like you had 4 Conans total that I recall. 2 had the helmet with the horns. 1 didn't have the horns, and 1 had the Frost Giant's daughter. And I was like, I like how one of the helmet ones doesn't have a sword, one has a sword. And I was like, but I ended up deciding. But we were chatting about that a lot, because you also had pages from Game of Thrones, you had pages from The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And if anyone checks your Instagram, I believe you have ones from Star Wars now. And we were just chatting about how these came about, and that was a really cool idea. And I was like, no, I want some. And
you see, what's great is you purchased some of the first ones that I ever did. And so there's an artist in Enfield, Elizabeth. She gave me these water-damaged Conan books. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with these, but I'm going to take them. I couldn't see doing something terrible to them, which ultimately I did end up doing. But then there was a real crappy day out, and I remember I was home with my kids, and we were going to make a collage of Conan stuff. So I had old Savage swords, and I had, and they were beat up. And then I had these books, and I'm like, let's cut out our favorite interesting images and words, and we'll put them in a pile, and we'll make a collage out of them, and we'll hang it up in my studio at home. And so then I've got a pile of these books with no covers, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this? It still hurts my soul to throw them away.
Yeah.
So then I drew Robert E. Howard's portrait on the first page of one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is fun. So then I went and I did 8 Conan ones. And I'm like, this is so awesome. Nobody's going to care. And so then I started destroying Harry Potter books and Star Wars books and Game of Thrones books. And it is very fun. The Conan stack has been rebooted. I've got a little bit of God in the Bowl now. I got a little bit of what else did I put in there? I can't think of it. The God in the Bowl one. Oh my God, I totally aped Barry Windsor Smith's art style, and I drew that snake. Oh yeah.
I was going to say there's a big snake in that one, isn't there?
Oh yes, very creepy, very creepy. Yeah, that's in the collection now. And then I'm looking right over here. I did Han Solo's pistol on Thursday, and then I did Princess Leia Monday night, and then I did a Yoda Sunday night at home. So those are going to be making their debut tomorrow at Plainville too. So.
You're not going to split up the duo one, right? You've got one with Han and Chewie together, right? They're on separate pages.
They are on separate pages, and they've already been sold. So I got to make a couple more of those.
Okay, well don't split them up is what I was going to say.
Yeah, they did go somewhere together, and it's funny. So you talk about the Frost Giant's daughter one.
Yeah.
That one actually melded up with a Conan one, where if you butted the 2 pages together, they made one image.
Yeah.
And it was him in plate armor, like kind of what I envisioned, like not the Barry Windsor take, but kind of what I imagined him to wear if he was in that battle. Oh, someone bought that one and they didn't get the daughter, and I was like, oh, this hurts. This hurts. So they broke the setup. So now the daughter, she walks around with a little scrap of cloth, but plate armor Conan is somewhere else.
That's one that I had to ask about because I didn't immediately get the connection that it was her. I thought it was his wife that eventually becomes his queen. Just because I associate.
I need to draw her.
I associated like the black hair with Zenobia. Because I think, I don't recall like in the story there being hair color, but I do know from like that one Frank Rosetta painting that she's blonde,
which makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Which the countries north of Samaria,
right?
Is the Iser and in what was the other one?
The Vanaheim.
Yeah, the Vanaheim. Yeah, the Vanir. Yeah, so like one's blonde and one's red hair. That's how Robert Howard split up countries.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a little off.
But then when you mentioned that and I looked at like what she was wearing, I was like, right, she was basically just wearing like scraps of cloth almost. Because that's what when Conan's like army finds him, he's just holding this one piece of cloth.
Sometimes there's a lot to do with balance on those pages, and I'll put a lot of ink down. And what happened was she's such a pale character, you couldn't appreciate it from afar. So I blotted in the hair. I totally did that. Because I want people to see it from across the room. And that poses to be a problem with some of the lighter stuff. So it's rare that you'll see me do like a pure blonde unless I can do a drop shadow behind, because I still want people to, I don't know, understand that the words are there.
Yeah.
It's a weird balance thing. Very, very weird.
Before we run out of time, how about
oh my God.
you?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Already. Can you plug all the places we can find you? Your website, your Instagram, like just fire 'em at us so our listeners know where to find you and look at your stuff.
Okay. So the studio is based in like one of the side villages of Simsbury, Connecticut. Sort of like we're just 10 minutes away from the airport. And we're in one of those repurposed mills. It's Free Lunch Studios. Free Lunch Comics exists within the studio itself. Free Lunch Studios is on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Those are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head.
All the ones that matter.
YouTube too. Oh, and Patreon as well. So like,
that's right. You have a Patreon. We didn't even get to that. Damn it.
I do. I have a Patreon where I do a lot of kind of over-the-shoulder drawing experiences, print of the month club, page art club. So like if you were going to go Christmas shopping for your family, like getting that page stuff, you could do one of those a month, and you'd be taken care of for the year. I also have, so as far as shows, tomorrow I'm going to be in Plainville. I do every one of those. I'll be working the Terrificon at Mohegan Sun later this summer. I'll be doing some comic construction programming there, among other things. Which is
fun in case people, I mean, I hope by now hearing us talk about it, like our listeners will know like what goes into making a comic book and like how long the process takes. But some people aren't that familiar with it. It's like, well, the writer has to write it, the penciler has to pencil it, the inker has to ink it, the colorist has to color it, and the letterer has to letter it.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, you know, and you know, for the major companies, this like it'll take 5, 6 or more months to put an issue out sometimes, just because of the process involved. And you know, and if you can find someone like Matt to explain that to you and take you through the steps, I suggest going to his class.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's a library that I'm hitting soon. I'm going to look at my calendar here.
I also see the website for freelunchcomics.com.
Yeah,
There's
we're
that on
rebooting
there.
that.
Yeah.
I'll be at Heritage Day in Windsor Locks next Saturday.
I hear
I'll
the
be at
people
a-
from Windsor Locks are some of the most attractive and just overall great people. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's someone here from Windsor. I don't know. Maybe we don't know.
All right.
But
That's interesting.
but I digress. Enough about the smallest town.
It is a nice town.
It's certainly something.
I'll be doing the comic construction lecture workshop at the Eastfield Mall on July 14th. And I'll be doing some workshops at the Simsbury Public Library in July as well. And I'll be visiting the Plainville Public Library that month too.
Damn.
With the lecture series. So it's going to be busy. And then I'm also doing the Simsbury Arts Academy in the mornings in July. And then you can catch me at the roller derby matches. I'll be there at Nomads in South Windsor. And, where else can you find me? You can find me here. If you're a creator and you want to test your creative strength, I'm a nationally recognized host for the 24-hour comic challenge. We run that every year in October. That's a good time. I love getting aggressive, goal-focused individuals to work on that. Sometimes if there's a lot of good energy, I'll run one in the summer too, which is very fun. I don't know. Did I just mention everything? I think so.
It sounds like a lot, so.
It is. Yeah, I'm gonna forget something. We'll hang up and I'll be like, "Oh wait, no."
There's
and
also
then
this
Thirsty
thing.
Thursdays, people. So here's the other cool thing. Public events here at the office. Monday night jams. Kids from 5 to 6, adults from 6 to 8:30. Every Monday, even this coming Monday, we're gonna do something. And then Thursday, every Thursday. So first Thursday of the month is straight up drink and draw. Bring your favorite beverage. You got to be 21 and over, and you can draw with me. We have a good time. The second Thursday, it's drink and board game, which is awesome. So Chris Fazakis will bring in cool board games, and we get to play. It's awesome. Lots of fun. Third week is D&D, which is closed at this moment because there's too many people. And I'm not D&D super freak. Like, I am new. I am a rookie. I love it. It is very, very fun. And we've done miniature painting session workshops in here because of that. And then the fourth Thursday is the Writer's Circle, which is open, and it is ridiculously popular. The three events, like the drink and draw, the drinking board game, and the drinking D&D, those are $5 a head. But the Writer's Circle is $10 a head, and I will tell you, I leave that every month. My head is spinning. I am motivated, and it's pushing me to do stuff I've never done before, which is very, very awesome. So those are the public events. And then Drawing and Painting for Teens, which runs on Fridays from 4 to 6:30. Those are media exploration classes. And right now we've got kids doing character design, and they're going to investigate all these different themes. And I'll tell you guys something that I haven't told anybody else. This summer I'm probably going to do Dungeons and Drawings, which will be a weekly D&D drawing session. And then there's something else. What was it? Oh man, I can't think of it off the top of my head. But that one's a big one. The Dungeons and Drawings.
There's usually not a lack of ideas when it comes to that.
Well, I like sitting. You know what it is?
Well, everyone who's ever played starts doing, can you draw my character? Can you draw my other character?
I literally had that just yesterday.
It's true. It's true. But then it's gonna. I ran this as a class at for drawing and painting for teens, and the kids loved it. Like, we were staining pages, and we were like having these weird adventures. It was a lot of fun. So they were leaving here with these little journals. It was really cool. So I want to do that. I want to do that over the summer.
That sounds great. You can check out all of Matt's work on the various social mediums: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Free Lunch Studios, Free Lunch Comics. Also, any nearby event, if you're in our area, the New England area, check out local events. We're always big supporters of local events and local artists and local
libraries.
Yes, dude.
Libraries, yeah.
This is how I know I'm 30. Was on my last vacation, because I don't go anywhere for vacations. We do I hate this word, staycations, because money.
I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like on day one of our vacation, my wife was like, "Hey, can we go to the library? I want to get a library card." And I was like, "Fuck yeah,
That's
we can go to the
cool.
library." Excuse my language. It's just. It was. Why don't I already have it? And then I was like, look at all these things that I could just take them. I obviously with the intent of returning
and then bring
them
back.
Oh yeah, of course.
But yeah, go check it. And like sometimes like libraries have such cool events. Sometimes like go check out their schedule. There might be something that
I learned how to
you'll
make a
fall in
bat
love
house
with.
at one.
Exactly.
And they're free. It's free stuff.
Yeah.
$0.
Yeah.
No excuse. No excuse.
But I went to a writers conference at a library. They did charge, but it was fantastic.
Right. So it's worth it.
Yeah, totally.
So
Totally.
So go check out local events, local live artist events, all that good stuff, and check out all of Matt's work. Check out the Patreon, all the social mediums, and him at a show near you. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. This was a huge pleasure. I'm sure we're probably going to see you soon at some sort of event.
Yeah.
It's always
Okay. Awesome.
But
I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. This was a lot of fun.
oh, absolutely. Best of luck in the future with all of the hundreds
Art
of things
and
that you're
teaching
doing.
and, yeah.
Oh God, I'm gonna go lay down.
Yeah. Go rest, man. We give
Take
you
a nap.
permission.
Today's a nice short day. I'm gonna be out of here at 4. It's gonna be good.
All right. So until next time, that is gonna do it. I reversed that. I should have said that's gonna do it. Until next time. Anyways, it's really late. It's 11 in the morning. So until next time, I have been JR,
I'm Alex.
I'm Matt Ryan.
and this has been episode 323 of Opinions May Vary.